the best Rorschach test is like whenever we post some stats from Bitrefill, people are always like very interested in our stats, right? The payment methods, which ones are popular, which ones are not, all of that. And it's very interesting in that, like, everybody sort of can find something that emotionally affects them. And if they want to find something that makes them happy, they will find the thing that will make them happy and highlight that. Or they want to find something that makes them angry, and they will find that and they will highlight that. And so at the end of the day, it's like the facts are the facts, like, people use different payment methods, this and that, some are up, some are down. And then people kind of choose, how they want to perceive.
This podcast is sponsored by Coin ATM Radar. When buying crypto with cash, an ATM is much more reliable and safer than meeting some random person in a random place. And unlike an exchange, which could freeze your account, you truly own all the crypto you buy. With Coin ATM Radar, you could find crypto ATMs and other services where you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies for cash. On their website, you can search by coin, address, if the ATM supports selling as well as buying, and you can also search by geo area, country, state, city. You can also check and compare actual current fees at different ATMs. If you want to find out more, head over to coinatmradar.com, which is coinatmradar.com.
All right, so hey everyone, I have the fantastic pleasure of once again speaking with the one and only Sergej Kotliar of Bitrefill. How's it going, man?
Hey. It's all good. How are you? It's a good day to be recording.
Yeah, it's everything sort of blends together to a certain extent, but if you'd all pay attention to the news, which I have to a little bit because I do the side podcasts and a random post to make people angry on X or whatever. I have to pay attention a little bit, and so yeah, there's definitely an interesting flow of optimism, I guess, in the crypto world. Everything is like,
the number is up.
Yes.
It fixes all of the things.
Yes, the number is up. It fixes all the things. That's the conclusion of this interview.
Well,
done. We've already said
many years ago, one good friend of mine said in jest, in a mean way, I think that Sergej's mood always depends on how the Bitcoin price is that day. And I was like, this is so unfair, you fucking asshole. And I'm like, I think there is a bit of that on a broader industry community, whatever you want to call it, level. Yeah, that's of course when the numbers are up. They're all up, right? To varying extents, but so everyone becomes a little bit more positive, more prone to believe the positive bullshit that we spread to each other, as opposed to the bear market where we all kind of want to cling to the negative bullshit. Something like that.
Yeah, that is very interesting, and I've observed this in my own life as well. Not so much for me personally, but for people in my rotation, where the same set of facts and situations are all of a sudden two very different things depending on where the number is.
Yeah, but everything can be interpreted in different ways, right? So there's always a pro and a con, and so it kind of depends on the eye. It's always like the best Rorschach test is like whenever we post some stats from Bitrefill, people are always like very interested in our stats, right? The payment methods, which ones are popular, which ones are not, all of that. And it's very interesting in that, like, everybody sort of can find something that emotionally affects them. And if they want to find something that makes them happy, they will find the thing that will make them happy and highlight that. Or they want to find something that makes them angry, and they will find that and they will highlight that. And so at the end of the day, it's like the facts are the facts, people use different payment methods, this and that, some are up, some are down. And then people kind of choose, how they want to perceive the facts and what the key takeaway is. And so if they want to strengthen this bias or that bias, or not, or to nuance something, or find something strange to believe or something else.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure where the same facts can mean something great or not great. And people love to run around. And of course, that happens a lot in politics as well, where the same exact thing you'll see.
Yeah.
It's funny because and just the last point on, before we get too deep into politics, on X or Twitter, like the feed is more, crypto people, pro freedom people, maybe even though no people aren't pro freedom, more right wing people. And then on the other side, I go to Reddit, and Reddit is the complete opposite, and very much the opposite. And so it just, sometimes I look here and then I look there and it's like, whoa, this is the exact same thing, but at two different worlds we're living in.
Yeah.
It is fun.
And that's it's scary. That's the beginning of what leads to conflict in a society when people live in different worlds and don't have understanding for the other side. So.
Well, we just this week hit an all-time high, but the all-time high that I wanted to start off talking with was the number of years Bitrefill's been around, which
all-time high every year.
All-time high every second. Its number goes up only in that case.
Yes.
It's so, 10 years. So you've been around
10 years.
10 years, and it's quite an accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so first off, what was it like at the very, very beginning when you started Bitrefill as a contrast to today?
Great question. I mean, same and different, I guess. I mean, this was, I don't know if Reddit was a thing then already. I think it was. But for me, like I had quite a bit of early influence from like the gray side of the Bitcoin space, which is like there was these guys, Bitcoin Pete and some other guys, they were writing this angry. You remember them, right? And then there's the Nakamoto Institute guys, and they're like weird, strange, angry, this and that people don't know. And there's this one thing that was like they were talking about, these Silicon Valley guys. I mean, this is like 2014, so Coinbase is 2 years old, and this and that, and like, these Silicon Valley guys are showing up, building stuff, they're getting hacked and robbed, and this and that, and they're all kind of just idiots and losers and this and that. And I kind of I bought into it a little bit in the sense that like, well, let's try something limited scope first and see if we get hacked and robbed, and do it in a small scale, to prep for the bigger efforts. And then it kind of one thing led to the other, and this company kind of became a thing. Many ways, I think, pulled by the market, by the users. But yeah, how else was the environment? Andreas Antonopoulos was the main influencer. Yeah, the drama was about the guys who thought that he was full of shit because he was too mainstream and not enough caring about the cypherpunkiness and the security. If I remember correctly, that was what people were fighting about. There were altcoins. There was like Litecoin and something, but that wasn't really that big of a thing. What else? There was no crypto Twitter, no Bitcoin Twitter. There were, I think Reddit was and Bitcoin Talk were the forums. Other than that, I mean, it was just after the bull market of 13, and so Bitrefill kind of lucked out in that. Like after that was when the Boost Accelerator did their first drive with the Bitcoin companies, and we managed to get into that, even though Bitrefill was very, very early as a project, probably unreasonably early, and lucked out, and that kind of forced it to become a company in many ways. At the same time, like the more things change, the more things are the same in many ways, just bigger, I would say.
Yeah. So the vision at the very beginning, do you think it's the same vision as today, or just kind of similar but a much more narrow vision, or do you think it's really changed what you would try to accomplish since then?
Well, no, I think it's the same. I think the ambition is bigger. Then it was just like, yeah, let's sell something online. What can we sell? Phone credits, something digital. There's no shipping. Let's do that. Um, I would say that, but like directionally, I think the vision or the spiritual vision of the company has always been like, hey, what kind of shit internet money is it we're building here if you can't even buy stuff with it? Right. And so, well, what can you buy with it? Well, you can buy this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's still what we are in spirit, even though like at that time we were working with phone refills. Now the bread and butter is gift cards, but we also do other things. Actually, funny enough, like we have an eSIM offering that's growing very rapidly, which is like some kind of homage to the phone refills. They're also still going
Yeah.
strong.
I've bought a
Um,
few this year because I've traveled a bunch to different countries, and yeah, they do work. So there you go.
they do, yeah. Yeah, and it says Bitrefill on the phone. It's cool.
Yeah. So in the very early spots, I mean, I'm sure at the very beginning it was, you know, yeah, we can buy something with Bitcoin, and a lot of people were probably excited to be able to buy just something. Like there weren't that many options back then, and I remember the options back then. I was using crypto back then, and not that great. People would get excited when any small company or any random electronic store would accept something, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that today, if I were to guess, I would say that the excitement around being able to spend crypto at all is just not the same, even though people still do it. It's just not as special. And oh my gosh, we can buy something. It's more utilitarian
Well,
today, maybe.
it exists in pockets, but yes, absolutely. I mean, the other side, I would say more that the other sides of the ecosystem has grown a lot more.
Hmm.
Yeah, but there's still pockets of, and I'm not the biggest enthusiast of merchant adoption as a thing, um, because I've seen sort of how it happens, sort of the progression of the things are and so on. Um, Yeah, but there's still, people that are happy about whatever local store that does something with crypto and so on, and there's like always this enthusiast led noise around it. But and we have that in all the different communities. I don't know all, but definitely several of them that there is an enthusiasm around that. Um,
Yeah. It's so.
but the enthusiasm is like, I mean, that's also my main beef is that like the enthusiasm is very often of the sort of well-meaning investor who is not a customer kind, in that they would like something to be,
Hmm.
they just don't want to use it themselves, but they very firmly believe that this is good and support it and encourage it, for someone else, not for me. Yeah. So
That's always very funny.
the non-customer investors, let's call it.
Yeah. Um, the NCI, non-customer investor. That
Yeah,
one.
it's a good,
Or
good.
non-user investor, NUI, whatever term we get to take root.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a
Yes.
lot of that. Now, in this span of time, so first of all, just on the growth aspect, do you remember how many people were at Bitrefill at the very beginning? Let's say the first year, and then how many
There was
there are
one.
now? Was that just
Well, there was on day one. There was one, and I had all the
yes?
jobs. Today there is 75 or so
Nice,
in the team, distributed across the world in more than 25 different countries. We have humans.
nice.
Um,
Yeah, that probably exceeds the size of a lot of crypto projects that have suspiciously high market caps too.
Probably, I don't know enough. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. And so, is first of all, one thing I thought is kind of interesting about just adoption in general is you hear again these narratives. There's so many narratives and so few facts, right? So few realities. I hear this narrative of, trying to spend crypto as a dead end, that like no one wants to do that, and it's it's useless. And it's at the same time, there might be a grain of truth to that, by the way, but the reality is, it seems like 75 people have jobs because of that not being true, I guess.
Sure. But the thing is, like, and that's what we talked about this. I think it was before we hit record. That like, for any fact, people can kind of choose a little bit.
Of course.
Is the glass half full or half empty, or even, my favorite is like when you're looking at something that's like on an exponential chart, but like not all the way up, but also already up from the bottom. You can make an excellent argument for like, oh no, this is tiny compared to what it could be if it ran the whole exponential growth, right? Or you can also, oh look, it's already growing exponentially, it's massive, and both are true, and crypto is always like that. Like people can always, in terms of like consumer transactional usage of cryptocurrency, you can make both arguments and both are equally valid. Like, are millions of people using it? Yes. Are billions of people using it? No. Okay, you can be happy about the millions, or you can be upset about the billions, and both are equally true. So yeah, and like you were saying that nobody wants to use crypto to buy stuff. Nobody is false. Not nobody. Some people want to use crypto to buy stuff. We know that. The question is sort of, well, is it everyone? No, not everyone. Is it everyone that has crypto? No, not everyone that has crypto. Okay, fair enough. Then we're on some kind of subset of people that have crypto, and which subset is it, and so on. What's the importance of it? And we can argue with that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure we can always again make arguments about, is it just tiny little thing compared to everyone else, etc. And do you see it still growing consistently, as far as this isn't just something that people did because it was fun and it's going away, and you still have like a business? Do you see it as something that's like it's going to continue to grow, even though it's might be a small percentage of crypto interest?
Absolutely, absolutely, strongly. Like, the thing is, like, we've always had, even from day one, we would have people that would use it, just to try it out, or just to be able to say that I bought something with my coins or things like that. Like, we've always used all kinds of different variants and flavors of that. But those users usually don't make a second purchase. Because why would you? Like, the novelty wears off very quickly. And so, and I would even say that even the people that like, want it but don't need it, also kind of tend to drop off. And so you have the people that like, well, if they have an income in crypto, are the best types of customers, and definitely it is growing, and it's growing on all fronts. Like, all numbers are going up again, and we can discuss, that Bitcoin's dominance is diminishing. Yes, but also the growth of Bitcoin also is a thing, right? So both of these things are true at the same time. So you can kind of pick and choose whichever narrative that you wanna tell about the stats.
Yeah, well, some stats are kind of hard to argue that. Some parts of it, I guess. And obviously in the space in the very beginning, did you only accept Bitcoin in the very beginning?
Yes.
So
for the first 3 years.
Yes. So for the first 3 years, 100% on chain, I would assume,
Sure.
because there wasn't really much else at the point.
Yes.
And then added some other coins, and then let's just talk about the era up until Lightning. Like, just stop right there for now. Did you see much of before Lightning came around and was implemented with Bitrefill? Did you see much of an increase in non-Bitcoin traffic, or was it still just always kind of like
Well, I
a
mean,
few
we
minority
added,
players?
if I remember correctly, so like what was happening in 2016, there were these spikes of higher transaction fees and so on. And so
Mm-hmm.
what we did as countermeasures were we added accounts, so you could pre-fund an account and then make multiple purchases. You could save on transactions, and also you could pre-fund in advance, and then when you actually need to buy something, you would have you don't need to wait for confirmation and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also added support for Litecoin.
Mm-hmm.
So you could also pay with Litecoin on Bitrefill. And so, and after that, if I remember correctly, was actually maybe Lightning was a bit later. I don't remember if we added Ethereum before Lightning or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, to be honest. It's a good question. So what was your question about the growth of
So was it?
non Bitcoin payments? Well, Litecoin, is sitting there solidly at a couple of percent, 5%, and so on. It's still there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's so obviously there's some growth in that sector, but probably right up until Lightning was added, it was still vast majority Bitcoin for everything, kind of always,
Yes,
right?
sure.
And so then there was the Lightning boom where everyone was adding Lightning services. Bitrefill added it, everything, and that seems to be the I would say the online hype around that at least seems to have died down significantly. What's your perspective of the Lightning era? So first of all, how much growth did you have from the Lightning sector, and kind of where is it today?
Great questions. I mean, I think, I'm an optimist and I kind of expected Lightning to grow much faster in terms of user adoption than it did. Um, and so on. But I mean, it is kind of unfortunate from all the political squabbling that we have in this industry that
Mm-hmm.
Lightning kind of came to be in such an environment, and it became this thing that, again, it became marketed to a certain camp, and people in that camp would like it, and people in the other camps would not like it, and in the end, it's just a thing. It's a
Mm-hmm.
tool, it's a protocol. It has certain features and properties that are useful for some people in some situations and not useful for other people in other situations. Why
Mm-hmm.
do we have to, yeah, make a big thing out of it? But yeah, there was a lot of let's say, non-customer investors that had all kinds of different opinions about it, also both positive and negative. In terms of like stats today, yeah, we have more Lightning. If you count the unique payments, we have more payments on Lightning than we have with on-chain Bitcoin.
Hmm.
If you count in volumes, then on-chain Bitcoin is still 4 times larger than Lightning. So we are definitely seeing that, like I'm just looking at yesterday's stats, like
Yeah.
average order value on Lightning is 34 euros and on chain Bitcoin is 160. So definitely there is something to be said about that. Small transactions happen over Lightning that don't happen on chain in different ways, and there's a good argument and good chunk of the community side of the Bitcoin community. I'll use Lightning. Yeah, not all, but most of them.
Mm-hmm.
The people that use on-chain Bitcoin are probably not the people that you would see on a Bitcoin conference. Like the Bitcoin conference attendees, the shop at Bitrefill would use Lightning. I would say. So there's the other Bitcoin users, the ones that don't hang around, that don't listen to this podcast, probably.
That is kind of funny how the politicization of not a coin, but a tool for a coin, where if people are paying directly on chain and that's all they do, that's almost like, oh yeah, you're not a real Bitcoin maximalist to a certain extent, where, the people that pay frequently, like, prefer Lightning might tend more
I
towards
don't think
on-chain.
it's about that. Again, like the people that don't care about politics, they don't care about the politics. Like
Mm-hmm.
right. So they just use whatever is more convenient to them, and it's just like some people will use we did a survey some time ago about like which wallets people use, right? And so there's a lot of wallets, especially the multi-coin wallets, that will not support Lightning. And so a lot of people don't have Lightning in their wallet, and so they don't pay with Lightning. They just pay on chain, and they're fine. They do have average transaction sizes, and we can always, based on that, discuss: is it because they are just not making the small transactions, or that they are planning to make larger transactions and do fewer of them? We can debate which it is, and I can dig up evidence for either of the two.
Yeah, for sure. Now, one thing I notice, because I do, of course, look at the stats, because there are a few crypto payment processors that report their stats, or other companies, and there's too few that do for my personal interests. And
Mine also.
yes, and I find that the Bitrefill stats are some of the more useful ones because of, the global nature. Like when you see BitPay stats, I take that more like U.S. payments. Like I don't.
Yeah, I don't. It used to be that their stats were very similar to ours. Nowadays, they have a lot of Litecoin usage, which I don't understand. I never got a good answer to what that is. Not that I don't like Litecoin, but it just seems a bit high to me. But I don't know. But I think generally, like once you understand how the different companies' stats are made, they all kind of make sense and tell the same story. I would say largely.
Yeah,
Um,
the one kind of like important part of all that I've noticed, the one thing that stuck out, of course, with all these payment metrics everywhere, maybe except BitPay, but stablecoins, very big thing, and I would
yes.
probably say in most cases, stablecoins are kind of the king of payments today. Maybe, Bitrefill has more people who are more, have that heritage of, uncensorable crypto and all that. Some, maybe a little bit of an outlier in that way, but still heavy stablecoin
No, but
volume.
stablecoins are plenty uncensorable. Yeah,
Hmm.
for many intents and purposes, they are quite uncensorable. I think stablecoins are also great in terms of like the politicization of things. Is that we politic about usually our different coins, and the stablecoins are like a little bit like eating everybody's lunch in the meantime, right? And
Hmm.
all of the different crypto tribes kind of feel competition and dislike towards the stablecoins, because fundamentally, stablecoins are trusted third parties, which are security hold. There's the fiat currency. Like it has all of the things that it used to be that the industry does not like. But if you ask the common man, the non-political users, those who don't understand what we argue
The
about, it's just
non-investor customers.
exactly. Yeah, from their perspective, what we're seeing is that many of them um, gladly accept the trade-offs of stablecoins for the benefit of not having volatility. And I think that that's a surprising insight to me and to many others, that would be the case. That like, the core tenet of like, I hold my old money, this is not your keys, not your coins, all of that. That like a lot of people, common people, will gladly use a stable coin. And I mean, it also, I guess, has to do with like what is non-custodial and how do you even explain that to people, and how do you explain that your tether in your trust wallet is less non-custodial than your Bitcoin in your trust wallet, right? Like there's a lot of this. Uh, we can go down that rabbit hole philosophically if we wanted to as well. Um,
Yeah, so do you think, you mentioned a little bit surprising. Were you kind of surprised at how stablecoins have sort of been eating everyone's lunch?
yes.
And what specifically about it was surprising to you? Because I'm sure if you're looking backwards, I'm sure it doesn't seem all that surprising today, but at the time, for sure.
Well, first of all, I was surprised that they didn't ban, block, jail all of them in 2015, 16 when it started. Um, That's the biggest surprise, I guess, that it has been allowed to continue as a thing. Other than that, I guess, yeah, in retrospect, I would say that it shouldn't be surprising that, as the sphere of cryptocurrency grows, you're going to introduce less and less idealistical people, and so then they're going to take trade-offs on some of the things that the core believers find to be holy. But I guess the other thing that's surprising to me is that they are growing on EVM-based chains. In terms of like the ERC20 standard and all of that stuff, and like having seen the different color coins, I would definitely say that ERC20 is, it's the VHS of token standards. That one won out is super freaking surprising to me and makes no sense at all. And I think in the end it just happens to coincide with the fact that in the split between Bitcoin and Ethereum, the token stuff happened in the Ethereum side, and this was their standard, so that's how it happened. But like objectively, it's not a good standard for for tokens and stable coins, and it's super weird that is how it happened. And I guess I was also surprised that currently that we're seeing the sharding strategy of the EVM chains, in that they fill up a chain and they launch a big blockchain, and then now they have two chains, and then they fill that up, and then they add another one and another one, right? So now there's like at least 10 or so mainstream Ethereum chains, and like Ethereum maximalists are upset about that, I guess, and having very similar to the block size war arguments about that, and I would even say that it clearly feels that this is like a situation that's not stable. Like it's not at a shelling point. Like something is going to give in some direction, but I don't know which yet. Like the Lightning enthusiasm in me wants to say that it's going to be stablecoins and Lightning that become the middle ground, but like I don't have any evidence for that other than some kind of it would be fun if, but I don't know.
Yeah. So, stablecoin. Do you think that stablecoins, rather than just a very useful tool that a lot of people, increasing number of people use, do you think that this is the mass adoption that we were waiting for all along? For as maybe unfortunate as that might be, where in let's just say 10 more years, the Bitrefill volume of Bitcoin and other scarce cryptos, I guess, together is like 4%, and it's 96% stablecoin volume.
That's hard to predict. Like, I mean, I think stablecoins are still because they're all censorable. Who the hell knows? Like, okay, everyone now expects that the new American government will be more positive to our field, but then 4 years, who knows what happens then? Who knows what's going to happen in the EU? Like, stablecoins are inherently permissioned, right? And so, also on the other hand, like the volatility of something like Bitcoin, even though right now it feels a bit volatile, but historically the volatility is going down quite significantly. And so, is there going to be a point at which Bitcoin is seen as stable enough, in the sense that, for example, the USD euro rate, like it fluctuates a bit, but they're kind of 1-to-1. Like most people don't know what the exact dollar. I don't know what the dollar euro rate. I think the euro is higher, but right, but they're like fundamentally, like we perceive them to be 1-to-1. Like this burger costs €10 or $10. It's like, yeah, it was kind of the same-ish somewhere, even though it might lift 20%. But like within that band, people kind of like, for most everyday, use cases. So there is also a case for Bitcoin, and if it stabilizes enough, that then maybe the volatility aspect goes away.
Yeah, and I have noticed, obviously, I kind of did some math on the price, and the 69,420, whatever the previous all-time high of 2021, great number, by the way, the best number, huge. The purchasing power of that same number in dollars in 2024 is, I think, 81,000. So when Bitcoin hit 81,000, it just did not lose value at that point. And so even when we have these good, nice price action these days, it does seem to be much less volatile in the case of, we're not saying all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. It's just much more modest of an increase. So on that note, do you think that Bitcoin becomes sort of the dollar equivalent of stable coins, where it's not like people are sending Bitcoin through the Bitcoin network or through direct proxies, sort of like Lightning, but where every single EVM chain, again, there we go with the EVM chains with all the tokens, every single one has some sort of a wrapped Bitcoin of some sort, and that's going to be the...
No, I don't think so. But like, I don't have any special insights here. Yeah, I don't see why you would send around wrapped Bitcoins. Like, it doesn't make too much sense to me. I guess it would make sense in that you would use them in some kind of, smart contract swaps or something that's common in the EVM world. But other than that, no, I don't think so. Like, it's already the case that stablecoins became the money of the crypto token trading world. Like, stablecoins are the unit of account, the store of value, and the medium of exchange for tokens in the crypto community now, right? It used to be that Bitcoin was the store of value, unit of exchange, and medium of account, right? You would buy Bitcoin at Coinbase, send it to your shitcoin exchange of choice. You would measure the price of the shitcoins in Bitcoin, and you would cash out your profits back out to Bitcoin. Right. So medium of exchange, unit of account, store of value, and today you have the same with stablecoins. And I guess this is why also the Ethereans are upset, because then which role does ETH play in all that?
Yeah, gas token, which
yeah, but you don't use it for gas on the Polygon chain or on the Tron chain or on the Solana chain and all of the other shards of the broader Ethereum EVM world, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. It's I think you do on Arbitrum, but that's about the only one. Now, with that, I made a joke post a few months ago about that. I exclusively earn and pay for my goods and services in gas token, because it's to a lot of people, there might be Bitcoin is the one that's maybe not a gas token, but every other crypto sort of mainstream crypto starting to sort of devolve into being a gas token for things people really want to use, like stable coins.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But like end of the day, yeah. I think the stablecoin will land in either. There's different paths. There's a path where it gets banned and outlawed effectively or reasonably effectively. There is the case that's bullish for crypto, by the way, right? For the numbers to go up, at least. Then there is the case in which it lands at something Lightning-like, where each individual transaction does not have an on-chain footprint, or it lands in something where there isn't a blockchain. Right, because fundamentally they don't need blockchains. Like a stablecoin would just as well run in the database of whoever is holding the coins. And so I've seen different designs for that. And principally, it doesn't really matter. Like we use ERC20 now because it became the VHS of it. But really, like nobody really needs to pay gas to transfer stablecoins. So like, why are we even?
Yeah, do you think that right now it does not seem like the market significantly differentiates between centralized stablecoins and like algorithmic style or over collateralized style, quote, decentralized stablecoins. Do
You
think
mean
that,
MakerDAO or?
yes, or then there was UST for a while, but let's not talk about that. And, you know,
UST is Terra Luna.
yes, there were those things. Do you
Uh-huh.
think that that will change over time, or do you think stablecoins are kind of solidified in
No, but they
like a,
have to be stable, otherwise they're not, they're not stable coins. Like,
yeah.
yeah. So no, I don't think the stable coin that has volatility has a chance of
Hmm.
competing in terms of the more decentralized. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't kept up with MakerDAO, but from what I understand, it's mostly these days backed by the other stable coins.
Yeah, I think it was mostly backed by USDC at one point recently. I think they'd made some changes that that's no longer the case, but
Right.
I haven't paid very close attention.
Yeah.
Do you remember Steam back in the day? The Steam blockchain
Yes, sure.
that now lives on in the Hive blockchain, in the Hive community after
Hmm.
they got off, and they're still very much using their Hive back dollar or Steam dollar or whatever, you
Hmm.
know, and that's algorithmic, I guess, burn mint mechanism, and not necessarily centralized as far as I'm aware. So
Yeah.
there are pockets of things like that, but I guess they haven't
I
really
mean, there's also
broken
like
through.
I had a very interesting conversation the other day about like gift cards as stable coins, right? And there's definitely something to that. Like,
I have
I mean,
definitely
for
used them as
example,
such before.
yeah, like, and we see that definitely that when or people will say that, tell us that like, well, when the price is high, I want to lock in some profits because the coins of my choice went up. Sometimes people will just buy some gift cards for for whatever it is that they want to buy later on, but maybe not right away, and they will sit on those, right? And that makes sense. Like you time the market to the best of your ability for when you sell your coins, and then the time when you actually go to buy something is a different time, which is also, by the way, one of the reasons why the gift card model has been more successful than the BitPay style model,
Hmm.
because it allows for the separation of when you want to sell your coins from when you want to make a purchase for goods and services.
Yeah, it kind of combines both. Whereas if you wanted to do the same thing with like the BitPay model, you would have to swap for a stable coin and then do it, and maybe then you don't need the BitPay at the end of the day. So you just do the
Yep,
stable coin.
yep, exactly like that. But so there is also an argument for that eventually everyone and their grandma will have their own stablecoin, just like every company above a certain size has its own gift card, and tokenizing the gift cards is not the biggest thing from a technical challenge standpoint, and maybe it ends up being that yeah, because we're already seeing now in the EVM world that there's you can pay with one and receive the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they become swapped in different ways. There's all kinds of different ways of solving that, in that like I pay you in my whatever dollars and you receive them in whatever else dollars, right? And maybe that's where we end up, where I pay you in my Bitrefill dollars and you receive them in your Quickie Mart dollars, and nobody knows what happened in the middle, and everyone's happy. And in many ways, like in the classic fiat ecosystem where you have banks, it's often the case, right? I have my dollars in bank A, and you have your dollars in bank B. And so when I send them to you, then you get them in your bank, right? So like in the end, they're worth the same. If my bank goes belly up, then you didn't lose your money, and so on. Right? So it's a little bit same type of trust dynamic, where maybe it ends up being that we choose which company we trust with our money, which I don't know if that's better from the status quo or not. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen any kind of tokenization of gift cards thing on a blockchain that is worth paying attention to yet, or is it just kind of just still
Not yet.
theoretical? Hmm.
It's still theoretical. The reasons for it are, it's not technical. It's just a mix of the fact that these things are it's a mix of business, regulatory, and other reasons. But I think we're going to start seeing that, and probably I would expect that it comes from the stablecoin side more than from the gift card issuer side, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Maybe there could be as always, like the market provides solutions to problems,
Yeah.
and problems can change. So maybe
The thing is that like stablecoins break a core principle, which is like you cannot issue dollars, e-money. Like it does break that. And so gift cards are kind of from the old world where like they're not supposed to be liquid. Like they're not supposed to be fungible, tradable, divisible, all of that. They're supposed to be single use, closed loop, very limited, so on. For both regulatory reasons and also sometimes practical reasons for the companies that issue them. So there is a bit of a goal conflict, but it's very possible that eventually it just shifts, just like stablecoins, and that it doesn't get banned quickly enough and reaches escape velocity.
Yeah, I mean, it could be in a banning situation where stablecoins as a whole become either banned or extremely regulated to where they don't have the same utility as they have today for what people want them for. Then maybe gift credit starts to become a substitute stablecoin because of that. They kind of take the fungibility dent.
Yeah. I think in any case, like one of the, in terms of like the 10-year perspective and blah, blah, like one of the things we do know is that now we have landed in a world in which, you can use money that is different from the money issued by your government. Let's say, which is big achievement,
Yeah.
That like, hey, you can live in Argentina and you can use some kind of dollars issued by some kind of company instead of the local Argentinian pesos, and that's great for you. Like if you can do that, and if you don't want to do it, then you don't.
Yeah. So you're talking about the EVM chains and how there's so many different ones. One thing that I think has been very interesting to see is the L2 boom, where now there are so many different second layer networks for Ethereum, but more importantly, it seems like companies, specifically exchanges, are all launching their own. So like you have Base,
exactly.
and then you have like whatever Inc. or the Kraken one is, and maybe Binance was kind of ahead of its time with BNB doing that kind of thing. But first of all, what's your perspective on that whole phenomenon?
Well, it's a natural progression of things. I mean, again, it all comes down to the fact of like what the regulatory environment is. Like remember that Bitcoin came in a world in which Satoshi had to be anonymous because it was illegal to create internet money. Like, Satoshi broke the law according to the current understanding of the laws. And then the law was you could use a blockchain, you could just not have your own. Nowadays, you can actually have your own, and whatever it means, you just have to have some kind of arm's length and so on. Yeah, but fundamentally, I don't see why not. Like at some point, if you have 10, you might as well have 100 or 10,000. Why not? Right. It's just a database that runs in some company or another. Then why not?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like where it's gonna go. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see it as at all like a problem? Because I think in the early days, people thought, oh, you use the blockchain, it's decentralized. And then you think, oh, well, layer 2, maybe you have some trade-offs, but it's still kind of a decentralized, not company-run thing. And now it's blatantly company-run, and there's a lot of them that are blatantly company-run, and people are using them a lot. Like, Base's volumes are insane. And do you think that's like a dark path people are going down, or is it just one of the things that will happen?
Well, I'm not a believer in if you build it, they will come. I'm a believer if you make them come, then you will build it. Like a marketing driven approach to things. I think that, in terms of centralization, decentralization, it's inherent that a centralized option will always be able to do everything that a decentralized can do and more. Like decentralization is always costly. And so to the extent that centralized options are permitted and available, they are going to provide a better user experience. So I think that it's going to keep happening until the point where, there is some kind of pushback from either regulators or from the market or something else. But and if it does, then well, when you add pressure to a system in which there are decentralized options, then traffic shifts to the more decentralized, right? So in the end, we're going to see more and more centralization until there is some kind of event that stops further centralization, and then we see a trend in the other direction.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Or not, or there's also like all kinds in history of situations in which the centralized solutions win over the decentralized, right? It's not a law that, like, think of the open web, for example, was popular, right? And then like nowadays we have the iPhone App Store and we have the Facebook and like all kinds of closed ecosystems that are not following the principles of the open web, right? Or you have, you used to have Napster that led to BitTorrent, and nowadays most people use Spotify, Netflix. They're closed source solutions, right? So it's like it's not always the case. It's not a law of the internet that the most open or most decentralized thing needfully must win. Unfortunately, I like the open things. Yeah, but,
of course.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I do notice that the ethos of the understanding of crypto's place in the world has vastly changed over the last 10 years. And I do remember in the early days, the idea was very similar to, I guess, Satoshi's idea, where where they're going to kill me if they catch me is kind of the mindset. And instead of everyone's putting in their LinkedIn bio now. And like in the early days, I thought, I always had this we kind of had this looming threat idea, like it's just coming over the horizon. At some point, they're going to come for us, so we got to go and hide and transact peer to peer in our basements. And that was kind of that idea, and it seems like that idea is largely gone. Now it just seems like
no, I still see it somewhere, but I agree that it's not the dominant idea, and that's a good thing because that idea doesn't scale. Like you cannot achieve an economy based on people that all pretend that they're not participating in that economy. Yeah, like you just can't, right? So at some point, we need to normalize and so on. So yeah, I think it's been a positive development. But like I kind of want to. You told me before, I don't know how much of it you can talk about on air, but like in terms of like the American election and sort of the role of crypto in politics.
yes,
And how it's a bit unexpected that a critical mass of crypto users would become a political force and affect politics instead of what the cypherpunks thought was like growing outside of the realm of politics.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely been the surprise of this last cycle, which I try to just only keep a side eye on politics. I'm not very interested in it. But it has gotten very interesting recently because, first of all, with the Gary Gensler, rest in peace. He's not actually dead, but he's on his way out, and all the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission causing so much havoc to a lot of people close to me, in fact. And then that I did notice, I knew it was important when you had both of the Winklevoss twins and Jesse Powell of Kraken. Just the three of them each donated $1 million of their personal money to the Trump campaign. And it's like, oh, okay, well, three people giving $3 million on this one issue. Like they didn't well, I think he's our candidate for a bunch of reasons. It's like, no, crypto only. That's the only reason they did it. It does seem like it fueled the election to a good extent, where now you have the, I guess, incoming president promising explicitly to free Ross Ulbricht from prison on day one, his first day he gets in office. Now, I don't know how, I don't trust politicians. I wasn't born yesterday. Who knows what's going to actually happen? But the amounts of promises that have come from that have been, it was clearly a very strong figment of this election. There's another thing that I think is interesting is Polymarket, which, running on Polygon, was one of the very biggest stories of the election, of the prediction market, of people betting.
Which is also like prediction markets were disallowed, and even this time, like they did arrest him, something.
The founder, they raided the founder, but I don't think they shut down Polymarket. They just raided the founder yet. Well, we'll see if it gets shut down. But one thing that's interesting about that is a lasting impact is there was a French fellow, Theo, who was the Polymarket whale, who's famously bet a ton of money and won a ton of money. And what he did is he commissioned his own polling in the U.S. personally, where he asked.
Yeah, I saw that.
And polls have been super inaccurate, and it's kind of a joke in the political world about, the polls say this, and we know that that's not accurate. And he got accurate polling because there was a market demand for accurate polling, and that might change the way elections happen forever in the U.S. Just that one instance because of the crypto money. Yeah. So it's definitely become the forefront of the election in the
I agree,
in
the and I feel like it's not talked about enough, to be honest. I think the success of Polymarket is massive. Yeah,
yes,
completely massive. So yeah, and I mean, like I check it. Like I've never used it myself in terms of making a bet, but I use it as a reader almost every day. Like reading. What they expect from the American politics and this and that, and I don't know. It's interesting to some extent. Like you never know, of course, how much you can trust it yet, but it does feel. I agree that like I remember. Do you remember when Wikipedia came?
Yes.
I don't know how old you are. I was in high school, and so it was like.
I think I remember when it was very new. I don't know if I remember a time when it was created.
Yeah. But like I was in high school and it was useful for schoolwork, but you were not allowed to use it for schoolwork. You still aren't, but like it was sort of the trust level was unclear, and it still is unclear. Well, it was more unclear then in terms of like to what extent can you trust something that's written in a wiki that anyone can fill in, blah blah blah, and then eventually the trust level increased, right? And so I think prediction markets are going through that, or specifically Polymarket is going through that now, where a lot of people after the election have realized that maybe there actually is something very useful here, and so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, and so the way the election shaped out in the U.S. as far as crypto is concerned seems to be a bunch of, especially investors or capitalized individuals, ended up making an explicit move to influence it because they were being threatened by the previous government. Now, I haven't seen that other than, let's just say, the U.S. and El Salvador, and then a handful of other small nations that have talked about, let's make a legal tender law or something like that. I haven't seen the same effect in the rest of the world nearly as much, as far as it becomes a thing that drives politics rather than it's just a thing in the country. Do you agree with that, or have you actually seen it drive?
You mean how crypto influenced the American election?
Yes.
Allegedly. No, I have not seen that anywhere else. No, that's new to me. Yeah, which I guess also has to do with the fact that crypto is very much a U.S. centric industry in many ways, and so the fact that some people that are successful in the crypto industry reach a level of success in which they are politically influential and reach a level of confidence where they can start, for example, donating to political candidates and so on, and then suddenly you realize that actually there's millions, maybe tens of millions of voters for whom this is enough of a topic enough of an issue to sway their vote. I haven't seen that before, and it's very interesting that it happened in the U.S. first.
Yes, I would not have expected that. Would have expected it to be in smaller countries first, and more. You'd think that the most successful country in the world would be the last to go almost, but instead it's like not the first, but one of the early adopters of this. If you consider this to be a trend, by the way, it might just be something crazy that happened.
Yeah, I wonder why. Yeah, I'm very interested in explanations why. I agree, like some kind of smaller democratic country, I would maybe expect it more, or like maybe an Argentina type country or something else. I don't know. Yeah,
which is very interesting because Argentina sort of kicked off a certain trend where now the incoming U.S. administration is very much talking about doing similar things of cutting massive amounts of government workers, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's almost like El Salvador made crypto or Bitcoin specifically front and center for its government, and then the U.S. ended up sort of following, and then Argentina also came in out of necessity, pretty much to do a turnaround in the slashing large amounts of government.
I mean, there's no, I don't see many similarities between American Bitcoin stuff and El Salvador Bitcoin stuff. I see them as very different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would
like it's not that Bukele was elected because of Bitcoin somehow or anything like that. You can make that argument about Trump, but I don't think you can.
Yes. Also, on the levels of commitment are nowhere near the same. Where I think that obviously the Trump administration will have a lot more positive things around crypto, but it's still now that it's been decided, it seems like a much smaller figment of the government than maybe in El Salvador. Same thing where with Argentina's.
It's not such a big part of the government in El Salvador. What makes you say that?
Was in a big centerpiece of the administration's initiatives. And
I don't know that it is.
You don't think so?
I think it's. If you're reading news about El Salvador in Bitcoin publications, it's gonna be all about the Bitcoin. But I think that there's a lot of stuff going on in El Salvador. I mean, what has the government done with it? Well, they declared it legal tender, whatever it is. They instituted some laws that they haven't followed up on, I mean, a lot of positive statements, I guess. That's the biggest, frankly. And bought a little bit of Bitcoin, I guess, as a company. But I don't know. We haven't seen Bitcoin be on the ballot in the same way.
Now, where do you think is the next place that would be where that would happen, where it would be on the ballot and take over the consciousness of a country like that? Do you think it would be somewhere in Europe, maybe somewhere in Africa, Latin America, another Latin American country? If you had to guess, obviously none of us know, but if you had to guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just straight up nothing.
Right now it's nothing. If you asked me a year or two ago, I would have said Ukraine. Yeah, but now I'm not sure, and so now I don't know. My answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe China. I don't know.
Yeah, that their relationship.
I don't know enough about it. I'm just guessing here.
Now, just as a side note, do you get much volume and interest from Africa? I know I hear a lot of narratives about it's the next up and coming area for crypto. It's going to be a crypto hotspot, whatever.
Africa is a big place, right? It's not one place. It's a massive continent. Sorry, get some air in here. It's a massive continent, much bigger than Europe. Yeah, I think it varies a lot from country to country. The difficulty of Africa is that because it's very different countries with different culture, different economic levels of development, there is no one size fits all. You have Nigeria, that's a big enough country to be a market of its own. And you have, I guess, the northern Arabic speaking parts of Africa, which have some cultural similarities. But yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, then you have the francophone, but then already you have a bunch of different countries. So no, I don't know. Like, are Africans using it? Yes, of course. In Nigeria, the stuff with Binance, I think, is mostly true. And the stable coins and all that stuff. So there is a lot of usage um, in different places in Africa. Let's say, for us, it's been a difficult continent because yeah, different countries. There's not enough good infrastructure. A lot of emerging market stuff where things suck because things suck, and therefore they suck. Like a little bit like a circular argument that because things are not very developed, it becomes difficult to do things, and that leads to things staying undeveloped a little bit. Yeah. But the fact that it's many different countries that are small has made it tricky for us. Like, we have meaningful usage in mainly in South Africa, and then a little bit here and there, of course, for phone top-ups and stuff like that. We have users here and there, but yeah, and Nigeria as well.
Yeah, for sure. Um, what's the next big thing you're focusing on for Bitrefill? Just growth? Is there any specific market? Is there a product or a direction that you're like, ooh, I'd really love to do that? I have seen, for example, the card being very advertised heavily with some very fun social media skits.
Yeah, well, I have the card right here. I can show you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just make sure that I cover the last letters. But here's my card. It exists. It's physical.
Perfect.
So yeah, I mean the card is promising, and we generally focus lately a lot on like getting more cards, both not so-called non-reloadable cards, which you can buy at low amounts without KYC, and the reloadable that require the full shebang of things to roll it out in more countries. We're going to try to, just like we've done with eSIMs, see if there's some other similar type products that we could offer under our own brand. We're always adding more countries, more gift cards, more payment methods. Right now, a lot of focus is on the stablecoin world, where we recently announced Solana and then Base as ways of paying with stablecoins. So yeah, there's a lot. Like, there's always so much going on. A lot of it's also just improving things. Like, our app today is infinitely better than it was. But probably next year is going to be infinitely better than it is today, and so on for the day-to-day users. So yeah, I don't know. What would you like to see?
Yeah, very good stuff. All right, any parting words? I think we're probably at a good time to wrap this thing up. Any other closing thoughts that maybe weren't expressed yet?
No, I don't know. I guess I'm very excited about seeing crypto industry in which the US is a force of positivity and encouragement, and see where that's going to go if that ends up happening as we expect, of course. I think that's going to be fun to watch. And other than that, I don't know. It is growing. Like, we can get down, and I think that's my big message is like everything is growing. All the numbers are growing. We can argue about them relative to each other or whatever, or say that something is less than we would have wanted it, or they stand on the other and have different preferences. But like on the whole, things are growing. I think that getting people to use things even in their imperfect forms is great, and if we get people to use things, then if they use it, we will build it.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Well, thanks very much for being on, and congratulations again.
Thank you so.
Good 10 years.
Thank you, Joe, for everything that you do for the furtherance of internet money.
Absolutely, never stopping. All right, everyone, thanks for watching and have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.